Hi, welcome. This lesson is on literal equations, and so we're going to talk a little bit about what are they. Why do we use literal equations? Literal equations allow us to represent things like distance, time, interest, area, radius, and slope as variables in an equation. Using variables instead of words is a real time saver. Literal equations are equations containing two or more variables. Many of the literal equations you have worked with in your life have been formulas. For example, example one, y equals mx plus b. This is the linear equation in slope-intercept form, where m represents the slope, b is the y-intercept. Example two, we've got c equals 2 pi r. C stands for circumference. Pi is a constant, and then we've got 2, and then r is the radius. For example three, we've got p equals 2l plus 2w. P is the perimeter, L is the length, and W is the width. And then finally, example 4, we've got A equals pi r squared. That's area of a circle is equal to pi times the radius squared, or the radius times the radius. So we can solve for a variable in a literal equation. Like in example 1, it says to solve for m in example 1. So we're going to look at y is equal to mx plus b, and it says to solve for m. That means we want to get m alone. And so if we're going to get m alone, we want to first get rid of all of the parts on the right-hand side that aren't with the m. So x is right by the m. We're going to first get rid of that b, and we do that with the opposite operation of addition. So we subtract b, and we do that to both sides. And that cancels the b on the right, leaving mx. And on the left, it gives us y minus b. And then finally, we want to get m alone. So right now we need to get rid of that x. Mx means m times x, so we divide by x. And that cancels the x, and it leaves us with the value of m then is equal to y minus b is all over x. And that would be our final answer, solved for m. The next one says, for example 3 above, solve for w. So if we've got p is equal to 2l plus 2w, and we're solving for w, I want to get that w alone. So first I'm going to get rid of this 2l. So I'm going to subtract 2l. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side as well. That cancels the 2l's on the right side of the equal sign. And on the left, then we get p minus 2l. And then over on the right, we get is equal to 2w. We want the w alone, so I'm going to get rid of that 2. I'm going to do that by dividing by 2. 2w means 2 times 2. So dividing by 2 is the opposite, and I have to do that to both sides. And so that cancels the 2, and then the final answer then is w is equal to p minus 2l, the perimeter minus 2 times the length, all divided by 2 would be equal to the width. All right, let's move along here. Example 5, use the circumference formula from example 2 above to fill in the circumference column of the table. Solve the literal equation for r. So let's do that right now. C equals 2 pi r. We want to solve for r. We want to get the r alone. So 2 pi r is all a multiplication. It's 2 times pi times r. And so we're going to do the opposite, which is divide by 2 and pi on both sides. So that cancels, and r then is equal to the circumference divided by 2 times pi. And we'll write that in here. The radius is equal to the circumference divided by 2 times pi. So solve the literal equation for r. We've done that, and use that version of the formula to fill in the radius column of the table. Use the pi button on the calculator and round your answers to the nearest hundredth. Okay. So in this first example, the first row on this table, we've got 23.4 inches, and that is the circumference. And so if we're given the circumference, we can use that here. The radius is equal to the circumference divided by 2 pi.
Teachers, staff, and students, we still have a fair number of cars on the driving range.
Circumference divided by 2 pi. And so the circumference is 23.4. So we're going to take 23.4, make sure that's right, yes, 23.4, and we divide this. So I hit divide by, and I'm going to hit, let me go back. $23.4 divide by, and then parentheses 2, and pi is right up above the raised button, so I'm going to hit second function pi, close parentheses, and then hit enter, and that gives me 3.724225668. But it says to round to the nearest hundredth, and so here in the hundredths place is a 2, right next to is a 4, so it rounds to 3.72. 3.72. And then since it's in inches on the right, it would the radius would also be in inches. All right, centimeters, 6 centimeters. If the radius is 6 centimeters, the circumference is 2. The circumference is 2 pi r. It's 2 times pi times the radius, which would be 2 times pi times 6. And 2 times 6 is 12, so it's 12 pi. Which, when rounded, we take 12 times pi, second function pi, and I hit enter, and that's 37.699. So that's 37.70. 37.70. Once again, if the circumference is 9.5, then I'm going to divide that by 2 pi. (9.5) divide by, once again, I like to put it in parentheses, 2 second function pi. And that would give me 1.51. So it's 1.51, and I'm sorry, up here the unit is centimeters. Down here the unit would be miles. Okay. 12 centimeters. If the radius is 12 centimeters, what is the circumference? It's 2 times 12, which is 24 pi. Second function pi. And that would be 75.398. The 8 makes the 9 round up one, so it's 75.40. 75.40 centimeters. All right, and if the radius is 100 kilometers, we've got 2 pi r is the circumference. So 2 times pi times the radius of 100 kilometers would be 200 pi. 2 times 100, 200 times pi. So I hit second function pi, and then hit enter, and I get 628.32. 628.32 kilometers. And if your circumference is 100 kilometers, once again, we're going to use this right here. Plugging in for the circumference, 100 divided by 2 pi. So we've got 100 divided by 2 pi, and that gives us 15.92. 15.92 kilometers. Now, if it's
There's a white Jetta on the driving range you're about to be towed.
if it's 200 yards,
372SK is the license plate. A white Jetta. If
we
you're
take
parked on the driving range,
200
you're about to be towed.
divide by 2 pi, second function pi, and hit enter, and that gives us, oops, let's try that again. 200 divide by 2 pi,
Jasmine Cortez.
31.83.
Your car is on the driving range, you're about to be towed.
31.83, and that's yards. If you have 7.83 millimeters as your radius, then your circumference is 2 times 7.83, 2 times 7.83 times pi, and pi is second function pi, and we hit enter, and we get 49.197. The 7 rounds the 9 up, so it's 49.20. 49.20 millimeters. And if I have 314.16 meters, then I get, 314.16, and that would be divided by 2 pi, and just double check that I copied that correctly. 314.16. Enter 50.00, and the 0 in the hundredths place, or the thousandths place, makes the hundredths place still 0, so it's 50.00. 50.00, and then m for meters. We still write the two zeros after the decimal point because it shows that we were rounding to the hundredths place. All right. In this one, we've got the area of a triangle, and it's given by the formula area equals 1/2 base times height. Solve for b and for h, and use the 3 equations to complete the table. So we'll go over here to the side and do this. Area equals 1/2 b times h, and if we're solving for b, then we need to get rid of the half and the h. And getting rid of the half means we multiply by 2. And that cancels that, leaving 2a is equal to bh. We then divide by h. And so the base is equal to 2 times the area divided by the height. And if we solve for h, it's going to be something very similar to this. A is equal to 1/2 base times height. This time we're solving for h. So we're going to multiply by 2. 2 times the area is equal to the base times the height. Divide by the base. And so the height is equal to 2 times the area divided by the base. So let's write this in here. Base is 2 times the area divided by the height. Height is 2 times the area divided by the base. And the area is equal to 1/2 times the base times the height. All right, so if I have the base is 2.5, and I want to solve for the height, I know that the base is 2.5 centimeters. I know the area is 10 centimeters squared, or 10 square centimeters. Then the height is 2 times the area, which is 2 times 10. Let's clear this out. So 2 times 10 is 20. Two times 10 is 20. Two times 10 is 20. Divided by the base, 2.5. Divided by the base, 2.5. And it gives us 8. So the height is 8, and its unit is centimeters. But over here, I got the base on the second column down. I've got the height and the area, so I plug it into that equation. 2 times 20 is 40. 40 divided by 8 would be 5 kilometers. In the third example down, if I've got 9.3 times 7.7 and then take half of that for the area, 9.3 times 7.7, and then half of that is the same as multiplying by 0.5. That gives me 38.805, or 35.81. Well, they want to round here. We want to round answers to the nearest tenth, and so that would be 35.8. 35.8, and it would be inches. Since it's an area, it's inches squared. All right. In this next example, I'm going to take the area. 2 times the area is 400. That's 800 square feet divided by the height, 100. 800 divided by 100 is 8. And that would be in feet. All right. Next example, 2.8 times 10.3. 2.8 times 10.3 times 0.5. And that gives me 14.42, or 14.4. 14.4 square feet. In this example, I'm going to take 2 times the area and divide by the base, 7.6. So 7.6 times 2, divide by the base, which is 5.4. And I get 2.814 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's rounds to 2.8. 2.8 unit is miles in this case. In this next example, I'm going to take the base times the height, divide by 2. And an easy way to do this is to take the an even number there, because half of 16 is easy because it's 8 times 3 is 24. So it's 24 inches squared. And then finally, to get the base in the last example, we're going to take 2 times the area, which is 2 times 12, 24, and divide by the height, which is 18. So we've got 24 divided by 18, and we get 1.3. So this is approximately 1.3 feet. Oh. Sorry, I made a mistake here. Got to look at the units. Here, the height is in feet, but the area is in yards. So I think it's easier for us to convert this feet to yards. 18 feet, to convert it to yards, there is 3 feet in a yard, so I put 3 feet here and 1 yard here. And the feet cancel, and then 18 divided by 3 is 6, so this is 6 yards. And so I'm going to go over here and write this is 6 yards. And now I take 2 times the area, 2 times 12 is 24, divide by the height, which is 6, and 24 divided by 6 would be 4. So this is 4, it would be 4 yards, which if you wanted to convert back to feet, you could. That'd be 4 times 3, 12. It would be 12 feet. All right, that's all I've got for you. Practice hard. You're going to get this.